Welcome back, audience. Hope you're doing good. As always, cheers. And in this video, I want to talk spiritual warfare and just be real for a few minutes, I suppose. Now, the first thing I want to say about the whole dynamic of society right now, the world, the consciousness, everything, what's going on. And I want to mention this view that sometimes people have, especially in quote unquote elite, looking down at people as sheeple or stupid, and things like that. Where they are actually in position at, imposing the laws, enforcing the way of life, manipulating, cursing, and even manipulating people in being evil and normalizing the actions that are actually evil sustaining as normal. Okay? Now, if you take this view, then you are a deliberate evil person. Because what you did is you looked at souls that are young and naive and gullible and innocent, and you decided that they are easy game to be exploited. And so there was this deliberate choice of being evil. And I'm talking about from the Rockefeller days to, Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, and all these other people who are now writing the code of the society. Hopefully. And of course, the government code permits that to happen. So there's this written code of society, and then of course this unwritten code of society, which usually are imposed through all sorts of rituals, magic, and things like that, including the perverted version of Kabbalah, which is why you see a lot of these people with the Jewish heritage. It's because of that perverted version of Kabbalah. There is, of course, the real original version, but that's not what's being used. And then there was a choice for somebody to look at the souls and say, okay, these are all very gullible, new, and innocent souls. Do we make a school for them, or do we create a prison for them and be evil? So this is where it all started. There was a deliberate choice, just suck the energy out of souls rather than cultivate something awesome out of it and create, like a Renaissance societies and holistic societies. So I don't see these people at fault, because if they could do something about it, they would do something about it. And there is an existence of innocent souls. And there's nothing shameful for trusting and believing in goodness in, your environment, in the people around you, and all these things. There's no shame in that. It's just so happened that you're just not in this particular time and this particular place that's not the right thing to do right now. But there's no shame in that. And in fact, I hope that someday we're going to have a society where people can have that level of trust again, because it's awesome not to look over your shoulder, because that's what actually true freedom is to be able to trust each other in whatever the creative and playful process we're engaging. But this is not what's going on right now. This is why to continue being naive and gullible right now, it's not really an option, because the structures that have been built, they've been built by the evil people. And so if you want to call anybody stupid, it is those people who made the choice to go the evil route and went with the ego way rather than growing the soul. Because it's not easy to grow your soul, but it's very easy to grow your ego. And so these people who were in a position of power, that they could deliberately make a choice whether they're gonna go onto the good way or evil way, and they took the evil route. These are the stupid idiots, morons, and the most despicable souls, if they do still have any. These are the people that are the most idiotic. They don't have power. This is not real power. This is just the manipulation and cunning, and it's not power. They don't even have freedom. And in fact, these are the people that go into the spiritual prison first. And the reason they go to the spiritual prison first, which is it's a type of suffering that no way out unless you do the reparations for all the damage that you did. So there's this deal right now with them. They either stop the shit at what they're doing, correct the code, sacrifice all these unearned billions, and do the right thing, or suffer. There's no other choice for them. And in fact, I'm gonna go as far as just observing like my processes and in my soul and my heart, and how much hate there was, or there might still be there, I suppose, for this type of, because as I was doing the alchemy, of course all these realizations start showing up. And this isn't some sort of fruity ass manifestation of manifesting your apples and oranges. This is spiritual warfare. A lot of laws that are applicable there are not applicable here. One of these laws is that the world is your reflection, and in fact it is not like that. And this particular world, it is not your reflection. It might be further thing from what you really are. But because it's so separated from what you really are, that's why you'll find so much hate there in this situation. So what you do with that, you alchemize that hate, but you don't shy away from this. You don't say like, well, I need to be a good person and things like that, right? You have to go into that hate, not to lose yourself and alchemize all that hate that is there, but you got to go there. And as you're alchemizing that hate, it turns into power. And what is power? Power is bliss. That's how you experience power. Why is it powerful? Because it's organizing principle of everything. And that's how you take the hate that was there for that thing that is so far away from goodness, turn it into power. Now you have taken the fire from them. You have taken the fire from these people, and they are becoming more and more powerless because of that. And the more of this bliss you cultivate within you, the more powerless they become. The more in the suffering they dive. And so this is a type of poetic, alchemical justice, because you can't win this battle through the means that, the way they're playing. The only way you can win this is through the alchemy, magic, and might. But first, the alchemical battle must be won. And then once you do have that power, once you went there, because you have to go there, and it's intense, but it's possible to transmute all of that. Then you go into magic, and then you redream the world the way you want to see the world. What you don't like, you destroy. What you do like, you create. And you take control of the astral world like that, because you have the higher authority due to that power that you've gained from alchemizing all this hate for evil. And another realization that I had today is that the approach was before like helping people. And now I realize that I'm not here to help people, because I've been trying to help people and it's not working. I realized that I didn't come here to help people. I come here to punish evil, so could people have a fair chance in saving themselves. Okay? Because now it's a, people sometimes say it's a cosmic joke and stuff like that. No, this is not how default civilizations function. This is actually the liberation must be the liberation must take on a planetary scale, not on this personal scale that often is portrayed. It's just because it doesn't work like that. It either happens on the whole planetary scale, or it doesn't happen at all. And all these Pratyeka Buddhas who just came here got what they came here for, and then fucked off and let this message that you also need to do the same thing, are also not speaking the entire truth. Because you could do that, but you could also not do that, and you could also stay here, and you could also, because you stay here, now you're going to have to deal with all of these energies that are here and learn how to deal with them, so it's not, so you turn agony into ecstasy. And of course, guys, I'm talking right now to people, to certain type of souls. I'm not talking with everybody, because I know for a fact that some people, they don't have these experiences. They function at the astral level, and they're younger souls, and then some, they just on the physical level, and even younger souls, even more naive souls. But they're all souls that came here to play this game, learn, grow, and graduate, and be in this creative and playful process, because this is the highest achievement of God anyway. But the system has been sort of like hijacked, and I don't, you see, and even like the stories that we have here on this planet, in this Western culture and whatnot, they're also accepted as like, oh yeah, this is, the battle between the good and evil, and blah 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 and all that stuff. It's just part of the culture, and it's accepted to be like that. But I don't think that this is a normal planetary civilization experience. I think this is quite rare to get to this point. But so this is why to me it's not interesting to play anything. Some people say, well, I don't have anything to do, like I can't do anything about it. Like, I have people in my family that they have to do these things, and I don't like it, they don't like it, but they have to do it, right? So I just work within my degrees of freedom and just do my best there. Okay. And if you that type of soul in a type of situation, good. At least do good within your degrees of freedom. That's great. I can't do it. I can't do it. It doesn't work for me. Um, I'd rather spend my life changing this code of the society, punishing the people and bringing them to justice that were in charge of creating a holistic society, but created this matrix society. And the mess that they made and made these people who are unconsciously evil and they do believe that they do good. I don't blame them for doing evil and believing that they're doing good, because they came from it all came from naivete. The souls who knew that they're doing evil and they did evil, those are the ones that need to be punished. And the souls who just fell for it, they were just gullible, and society has been normalized, they programmed like, oh, it's okay to to go the ego way, and this is normal, this is human, it's like, isn't this what the animals do, and all that nonsense, are just gullible souls that fell for it. And as soon as you change the entire system of the society, very quickly these souls are going to be realizing what they've done, because they do have a soul, right? They do have some internal compass that could show them like, oh shit, I was on this path and I thought this is good. Like, it happened to me. I fell for this too for a brief moment of time. But no, this is why we are living in a spiritual war times. And if you are going through these feelings that come out of nowhere, and they're very strong and powerful, and when you see things that is unjust in the world, and it creates this incredible rage inside of you, and you have to deal with this then to transmute it into power and all that, then you're the type of soul. You're the alchemical soul. And you are here in charge of spiritual warfare. And you may think like, well, is it just poor little me? I'm here just for the spiritual warfare. Yeah, exactly. And I know that if you pass few of these tests, you saw how the world reacts, and and you know that it means something, if not everything. You choosing the discipline and saying no to lust, and saying no to acting on hate, and transmuting lust, transmuting hate into that energy, which is difficult to do. Like, it's almost going through the eye of a needle sometimes. It's like that. But you do it, you find a way. No matter how long it takes, you do it. You resolve that. Boom. And it's massive. It's huge. That's what she said. But there was a little story in my life when I was 17 years old, I think. And I was someone from a gym, like 30, 40 years old guy, man, like, gave me a lift in his car. And he's just on his phone arranging some girls, just having, what I'm trying to say. And he's married, and he's talking to me how he's just gonna smash these girls and all that. And I looked at him and I said, what about your wife? Why don't you do these things with your wife? And he looked at me like I'm like I'm retarded or something. He looked at me, he's like, what do you mean with my wife? You know, like, and I think he told me something that, oh, you got so much to learn. But the truth was is that he's got a lot to learn, you know. And in that little story, you can see the motion of the ego, and the ego gets off on the betrayal of the soul. And so you say, why aren't you doing it with your wife? It's because I have ego, and it's fun to betray my wife and have sex with these girls. That's what gives me that thrill, that egotistical thrill, right? Now, if he actually went and decided to love his wife and face all of this crap inside of him and burn it all up, he would find that there's another level or a completely different type of passion, soulful passion that he has, like I call it white passion or light passion, that he has for his wife through love. That's what he would found if he would have done that. But he didn't, and he went the ego way. And that's normalized, in the culture. So there. But I don't know. It never really, it never was right to me. But anyway, but right now, all of these men, they could have a choice to face all of their feelings. Stop pacifying with nonsense outside of them. This is, you could join that chemical battle, that spiritual war. You see, rather than doubling down on their ego and going in even more of these hedonistic pleasures, and some even go into like the opposite, and they go to the ascetic pleasures, which is they derive enjoyment. I shouldn't say enjoyment, but interestingly, they derive some satisfaction, I should say, from pain, which is what asceticism is, still not facing their feelings and using castigating themselves in the body, and all that, all these things, or going into hedonistic pleasures and deriving satisfaction from hedonistic pleasure. And the hedonistic pleasure is to pacify the lack of union in your heart with trying to connect these dots externally and going the ego way, right? So you could have hedonistic ego or ascetic ego, it's still an ego. You still have not faced that place where mind cannot go, only your heart can go, and only your heart can handle all of these feelings. So every time you use your mind to handle these feelings, or your brain, you're always going to make a wrong choice and just grow your ego even more. Okay? Now that's the only thing that I can do. I can point, and some people have that capacity, and they decide, okay, let's see if I can do this. And if they can do this, then they say, oh, there's another way that I can go. There is indeed that holistic way of life, but it requires a lot of my attention and awareness be placed where it needs to be, rather than whatever the matrix is trying to make me to place attention on. Okay. So there, and of course, enough of the hypocrisy too. Uh, Having that good image and saying, well, I'm a good person and doing good things, but still, you know what's inside. You know what is your release from that quote unquote suffering. You see, and this is why, like, if I meet a person And I'm not sugarcoating anything, okay? I'm talking about spiritual warfare. I'm not talking about some fruity ass manifestation here. I'm not talking about this idea that's like, oh, the world is my reflection, and you know, that naive kumbaya bullshit. No, this is real. The world, in this particular world, it is not your reflection. In fact, it is broken. Matrix is a type of corrupt system, and it is broken. It's not holistic. It's not whole. It's fragmented. This is why it creates these psyop looking, movements and intentions, and why men want these structures to be imposed in a society. It's because of all that corruption. So there is a recognition here that that's what's going on. And so you say, okay, so if that's what's going on, and if that's not me, then there's going to be a lot of fire there to resolve that situation. You're either going to give into this, or you're going to resist this, and there's going to be a lot of hate, a lot of rage, or perhaps even lust coming up because you took that position of the soul. And what does that happen? Well, what does that do? It does not fix the broken mirror. It does not fix that, which is not you. It compensates and corrects for it by creating that crystal that diffracts that light back into holographic beauty. How it would be originally if there wasn't for that corrupt matrix. So these people talk about grid, which is that holographic projection, is that grid. That grid is broken, and so they can only be repaired by the alchemy, by the souls who alchemize these energies, and they remain to that 0 point, if you will, or how they manage these negative feelings that come their way. Like devotion is where you always prefer the surrender. Alchemy is when you actually go into these, like what I call like these, hate and lust feelings and the variations of them. And you do this, and because your soul now is diffracting that fragmented light back into the cohesiveness and coherence. It's because of your soul that this matrix is crumbling, right? It's because you are correcting for that. You're not trying to sort of like per se destroy the matrix, right? But you're correcting for its errors. So the matrix can remain there, but despite the matrix, you correct for the errors. Okay? And so that's why the end result is beautiful manifestation. Okay? But there's that level of complexity that people don't really realize, and it's only because of you there's something beautiful that happened in this world, right? Because of what you've done with your heart. And of course, that's just the first step. But primarily right now, this is what's required of you, is this alchemical. And really, some people, for example, they go to that 0 point and they realize, oh, the solution was not my mind I was always seeking. Oh, I can just fall through into this space. Okay, great. And so when people do that, some people just stay there, and live life, and they don't really have these alchemical challenges coming their way to remain there. Other people, they recognize that and they stay there, but they're always being tried to push off of that, until you have to defend your throne. This is what the alchemical process comes in. And that's what's required of you to remain in that state. And it seems that some people don't have to do this, and it seems that other people have to do this. And people who do have to do this, these are the people who are in charge of correcting for all of these distortions that is the matrix. Okay? So that is more accurate of what's really going on. Because you could ask a very simple question. It's like, if the world is my reflection, am I such a horrible being? Because I mean, if you look at what's going on in the world and how people so hypocritical, and the other day the cops stopped my car because I was late to change my plates, and gave me the spiel of how he's very honorable and is not doesn't take any bribes, right? And sure enough, in the end, like, his partner asked for cash. So, and of course, I mean, this is just like this particular level, and people just do this to cope with the system and whatnot. And you may say, like, well, it's not that bad because the system is so fucked up that to pay a little bit in hand to the cop, it's better. Everybody's happy. Okay, fair enough. But the system shouldn't be so fucked up that you had to be so corrupt within yourself to compensate for it. You know. Anyway, and of course, it's my fault for not renewing it in time. But I had other occupations to do, which are way more important, as you know. Um, so yeah, I reserve the right sometimes to be late with these things. But anyway, besides the point, I was going to say that after some time, is going to be more important the world of magic, because it's just natural. Like, if you already are very stable in that energy, that peaceful, blissful energy, then you can consider that, okay, you're not in the wartime at this point, and then you can try to use that energy to create something, and that's the urge. Um, and that's when you use magic with what you want to create, and you create the structures that you want to see in the world, and primarily the structures that could um, like, honestly, even if a small scale, if you could have like one little village, which is my vision, to have one little village that lives independently but with a high luxury, like a real luxury, and like a really cool way of life. And it's just like a suburb that is sustainable. Just nothing fancy. You see what I'm trying to say? I mean, it is pretty fancy still because it's in the nature and all these other things. It's a bit of a, you know um suburb in a paradise kind of thing, right? But no fruity nonsense, no religions, no traditions, no weird ass clothes and all that shit. People wear whatever the fuck they want, but none of that community nonsense, none of this sannyasin bullshit. There's just people trying to live in a harmonious way, an independent way. Does that's it. And so just to create that little model uh, society, at least in a small scale, and then hopefully then they could change these laws that are obviously clearly corrupted, that are sometimes I mention them, and I want to see them changed because I know that they are the breed of the corruption, and that's what allows for the corporations to abuse their rights and abuse people, and even take this arrogant view that they're not tools but they're authorities, rather than they're supposed to be sort of providing just utilitarian value, no authority value, no opinion on a moral judgment or anything like that, which now they're free to do so, and that's going to the algorithm as well. So, and it's becoming, again, it's the same. You can see the same manifestation of the tyrannical father. I'm going to control you, right? And I'm going to use you for the energy, rather than I'm going to create a structure which is amazing for you to blossom in, and grow as a soul, right? And it's just bad code. It's just bad code. And so if anybody's stupid, it's not the people who are using Facebook, because they can call them gullible, you can call them innocent. But who's really at fault is the person who wrote the code and the people who enforced that code, people who decided that it's all right, that's the way, that's normal. Let's normalize this. Let's make the profit driven rather than this is why, like, Mastodon, and soon I'm going to try to invite people in some way, I don't know, from Instagram to Facebook, once I'm going to have these projects kicking in. I'm going to keep on inviting people onto Mastodon, on the centralized platform, where it functions as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You don't need anything else, just one place, and you do your thing there. You do your thing, and there's no bullshit algorithm. It's just people, very organic, no bullshit, no nonsense. It's just people. So yeah. And so we are in this position right now. But the good news is that you are very likely that you are in charge of this, and it does depend on you. And because you know that this reality is a screen, which means that all change happens in the causal layer and astral layer. And here, you're just required to take action, have skills, which is not easy as well, because might is not easy, because it does require your solar energy and mastery over your solar energy. Because whenever you do the task that is the opposite flow of everybody else's will, there is resistance. And so you have to know and master the flow of energy within your solar plexus of how to take action where you may not, quote unquote, want it, or you feel heaviness to do so. But through the urging, which is letting the energy move and moving with the energy, right? Not the force, you are able to do these things that you need to do in a state of enjoyment. Okay? This is how I started, like, working out. This is how I started, dancing. This is how I started even moving, doing my breath work. Everything now is led with the energy. Because you do have to engage that causal level of your being and move with the energy. And then you can even add the astral layer as well. You're almost like you're in the physical reality, but you're also like engaged your imagination as you move through life. So you move through causal, astral, and physical all at once. Okay, all of the layers engaged. And it has the maximum joy, enjoyment. And that's what allows you to deal with this, which would normally be resistance and refusal to take the right action that you need to do. Okay, because I know that's the people who are right now in this spiritual war energetically, and they're not going the easy way. There is a resistance to the action that they have to take, because you have to trailblaze that pattern. And you do this with the alchemy, magic, and might. In this case, theurgy and might. Okay? So you even need to learn of how to take action, because it's not how you used to do it. Okay? I'm even learning how to talk differently. Not like because of you may even notice I don't talk how I used to talk, because something is changing. So I'm learning to talk with the energy as well, rather than from the memory. So there is this type of learning that's going on. It's strange, but few people kind of also experience this and understand of how to live and how to function in this spiritual war mode, so to speak. Because you cannot function how you used to function, because this way you're not gonna get anything done. Okay? But there is a way to do this. And there, where there's like a very strong resistance, that there used to be strong resistance, you use that resistance for the energy. It's a paradox, but you use that feeling of exhaustion as fuel, because it's just a spell, it's not real. But you use this and you move it, and there's an enjoyment in motion towards the accomplishment of your goals, and you train. And this is, I'm just trying to get to that I suppose like a perfect discipline. And little by little, I'm chiseling that way of living and that way of moving, and prioritizing the tasks that need to be done, and right. And it's a hard work in a world of might, but by learning this, to do this the new way, it is enjoyable. Okay, because you cannot do it the old way anymore, because it's impossible to move through these energies, because you would feel so much resistance that you would get like exhausted very quickly. So you can't do this way anymore. You have to use magic even to get your shit done. So that's what I wanted to say. But of course, the good news is that you can do so much with your causal and astral reality. And some people say that that's all you have to do. But I see that, of course, you have to take the right action, which is also requires the skill and use of energy in the physical reality. So to complete the whole circle, so I cannot just say that it's enough for causal and astral. Yes, it's easier and quite easy to do all the tasks that needs to be done in the physical, but they still need to be done, right? It's or if you want other people to do these things, these tasks, then you have to build a system. You have to build a system, which also takes some work and accomplishment for some tasks, some goals, for that to be built, that system that and then sure, then you don't really need to do a lot of by yourself. Other people can complete the tasks for you because you've built a system. So yeah, so that's my take of how we fight the spiritual war. But also not to forget to build and create when the spiritual war time is over, because you will feel it, right? Because if you wake up in the morning and just like everything's burning inside of you, then you do your thing, you alchemize, you don't leave your attention from there, keep on burning that thing. If something comes up into your awareness and brings up that hate, that rage, also focus, transmute this, let it turn into power. Okay? Keep doing that. And then when you are feeling good, then you go into the creative mode. Keep imagining what you want to imagine. Let that energy, that bliss and peace that you built up, let that flow into something. And you even let that to show you of what it is. Because you may start seeing like colors and some sort of patterns and images. But naturally, with no psychedelics, what psychedelics used to imitate, now it's happening with you naturally. And so there might be something there that is trying to sort of germinate in your consciousness, and you play with that, and then later you may need to give it a form and imagine scenarios, events, and stories of what you're trying to create. Okay, and there might be also be resistance, so you have to learn of how to do all these things still there, and that's where your focus is supposed to be. Okay, because and of course when somebody's acting from ego, the same thing. And by the way, no, people don't have to be in front of you for you to start feeling that somebody has building an intent, a malicious intent towards you. Same thing. Meet that energy, find the source, burn it all up. Okay, create the consequences, cut off the energy. Okay, because that attack that may happen may pull you and take some sort of action. Like if the last attack happens, it may pull you into, you know, watching porn or having some bullshit casual sex and whatnot. That's a discipline. You cut off and say no. You cut off the energy supply, and then you cut off the head of the snake, because then it's gonna start coming over here, and you use your attention and you burn it. Okay, so you just burn that entity. That doesn't matter which person coming from, but you just burn that demon that was being sent to you to fuck you up by whoever and whatever, right? And so this way you are engaging in what I would call malicide. You are killing evil. I don't, you know, you are actually transmuting it. You're not really sort of destroying it, because no energy can be destroyed, it can only be transmuted. And but you are killing the demon, turning into pure uh, prima materia, and then creating an angel out of it, right? So you are in this type of process. So every time that thing comes along, transmute it, create an angel out of it. Lust attack comes along from people or just generally, alchemize it, turn it into something, the feeling of love actually. And then imagine something awesome about that. And so you keep doing that process of killing demons and letting angels loose. I'm just using these words right now, but for the dramatic effect. But really, the alchemical process is this exactly. And that's the thing. Ironically, demons are attracted to you. If you're in this type of process, demons are attracted to you. But you have to understand what's coming your way, and don't be gullible at this point, right? If you're under lust attack or hate attack, understand that that may be coming from the person, and the person doesn't have the best interest at heart, because they came with a demon. Use that for the alchemy. Okay, take that demon from them, process it, create something good that you envision for you know for for your tribe, for your people. You may liberate some people when they come with like some form of lust, and you alchemize everything, and you move them into the heart. That can happen too. um, so even though the intent of the person was like lusting over you and whatnot, But when they face you completely, that all that lust moves into love, and you know, the intent was to fuck you over, but the result was love. And if somebody comes in with hate, then of course it might be intent to fuck you over, but the result is truth. And so these types of demons who don't respond to nothing but alchemy, you know, it is always about the frame control, which is the discipline, and sometimes you have to do the right thing outside of you, and that will create a lot of hate. But you do the, you know, like you do the right thing, but that can create a lot of hate in that person that they are projecting onto you. Do your best, alchemize everything, stay with the right decision that you've made, right? That's what you need to learn as an alchemist, that you do what's right and you're willing to take the hits that's coming your way after you refuse an ego its way. Okay, take all that energy and alchemize it, but you do refuse the ego its way, whether it was lust or hate or any kind of cunningness or manipulative type of approach. This is how I live my life. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm not, you know, here to pretend that I'm playing these hypocritical games and stuff like that. Of course, you know, within limits, sometimes you don't want to ruffle too many feathers because it's not the time. You got to pick your battles. But when you know that that's the time and there's no place for you to be kind of undercover, you just be you, you know? But at the same time, you also have to be sometimes, you know, undercover. But there's gonna be time where you are never undercover. And in my life, most of my life, I'm completely the way I am, with the exception, for example, of like dealing with the cop, for example. I could have told him what he really is, but I didn't, because sometimes you have to, like, you know, sometimes you just have to pick your battles. That's all I'm saying. Because what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna go against the entire establishment right now, but if I keep calm and look at where all of the corruption stem from, and if I can have an influence on these laws and change the laws, change the structure, change the way the society works, as a seed, as a root cause of everything, then perhaps I could be of use, rather than destroy myself at the superficial layers that makes no difference, right? It's just like throwing a tantrum and saying like, oh, this whole thing is out of order, you're all corrupt, you're all demons, you know, you're all reptiles. Like, okay, then you just, what is this? Like, you're not doing anything. You may be right about all of this, but what is that changing? You're not being effective. You still have not transmuted your hate to be effective warrior in the spiritual war. And guys, like, I mean, this is the last thing I expected, that to live this life after I acquired like a lot of success in my life and everything, and I thought I'm just gonna retire and live happily ever after. That's how that was my plan. So I was completely off guard, no preparation for any kind of war or anything like that. And then being completely innocent and trusting with people, not realizing the level of the corruption that is still sort of looming around. But then very quickly I realized, fuck, I have to postpone my retirement. I have to postpone my happy ever after. Not yet. In fact, not only that you're not getting to retire, there's an entire war to fight. Imagine. And at that point, I was just like, I had no gas, like I had nothing in my tank already. I just was ready to just retire and be relaxed. And then boom, said, no, not only that you can't do that, you actually have the whole war to fight. And I'm dealing with it since. But I'm accepting it. I'm accepting it for what it is. And I'm finding the energy somehow, some way. Even though I got nothing in my tank. So I don't know where that energy is coming from. And yeah, you can say, well, why don't you just had enough? Why don't you just let go and giving into the Babylonian way? I can't do that either. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care. And even if I have to, hopefully not for too long, but like if I have to even separate from my friends that's been with me for most of my life because they're still choosing this vanity nonsense, okay, fine. Because I don't know, something deep in my soul just knows that is the way. And it doesn't feel insane to me. It feels very healthy and very sane. You know? People may not want to face this because what can they do, right? Like if they face this thing, this reality that like the level of evil that we have here, subconscious, which was through gullibility, and conscious, which was through evil intent, then these people, what are they going to do? So, well, fuck, now I know that there's evil. At least I was blissfully ignorant, right? And now what the fuck am I going to do? Well, the only way now is go back into blissful ignorance and just pretend that you never really been exposed to this, or go on a path of being wisdomly blissful, or blissfully wisdomly. Because there's a difference between the bliss out of ignorance and the bliss out of wisdom. Because blissfully ignorant is very temporary. It's very temporary. But wisdomly blissful, it's permanent. Wow. So yeah, so that's my little take in this video. I'm gonna get some tea, make some breakfast, and keep alchemizing whatever is left there. It's been the third day for me. I still feel that the same knot is inside of me, but it's giving up and it's releasing energy. I can feel it. But I do feel like I'm getting a hang of this. It's a way of life. It's a way of life. And I also sometimes notice when I'm kind of stray off of it a little bit, and I realize like, oh, I have to clamp up on my discipline even more. And just like, okay, I'm clamping up a little more. and then handling that. If I can clamp up even more, then I clamp up more, but just little by little. But I can feel that there's there's a way still to go until this. I have this intuition, and I have moments where everything is clicking together, but not because you just surrendered and going with the flow, which is what the feminine is supposed to do. But masculine, it's because you have built the structure within your consciousness that is completely adequate for the challenges that are in your life. And then everything is clicking and popping and locking, and you just learn to juggle those three rings or the eyes of life. And that is like, I know that it exists, and but it takes work, right? It's to boot up that nuclear reactor. It takes a lot of work, and it's worth it. It's worth it. And yeah, all right. I think we went deep enough for today. So thanks for watching. Take care, peace, and I'll see you in the next one.